This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
My mate Stan's here. Stan, I hope you've requested, my friend. Oh, are you requested, Stan? Hey up, Miss Kelly. This is going to be fun.
Say again, sorry.
What's your thoughts then, Stan, on the AFC Wimbledon versus Bradford City pre-match?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's. I think from listening to another Facebook space at the weekend that saying that Wimbledon were awful last weekend. So I think that's the possibility of where we might get some points over the next few games. So why not? Especially as we're, kind of 2 games unbeaten under Big Kev. In fact, 2 wins, isn't it? So 100% record.
Do you think he's going to stick with the same team tomorrow?
The same team as a team closer to Saturday than Tuesday, I think.
Yeah, pretty strong team when it's Saturday. Bobby Point and playing, and seemed like everybody were fighting for each other and playing well for each other.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think it's that they weren't like playing for each other. I mean, they may not have been, but I think whatever it is, perhaps people weren't. People aren't going to be happy with a lot if they're not in the team regularly and stuff. Maybe their heads were down or whatever. I don't know, but I think I'm trying to think back to last Saturday when Smallwood was less kind of going around shouting at everyone, and he just played his game. I don't know if I think the fact that I didn't notice it doesn't mean that it didn't happen, but I don't seem to remember it happening. So, yeah, I mean, it could be that literally, weight's been lifted, and once we kind of got that sort of, I think half of it is mental in terms of not that they didn't try, but it's like if you've got a cloud over your head, your base, it's going to affect you. So. And for me, there was a massive, absolutely massive hangover from the Carlisle game. So, that's been lifted now. Don't know what you guys think.
What do you think, Godmother Callie? As she's speaking, Callie, speaking, love. Oh, you see, here we go.
Bear with me because I'm new to this. I don't know what I'm doing yet. Let me just listen for a bit.
No, it's all right. It's cool. Just say what you think, Callie. Really, just kind of rest of us talk nonsense, and then you talk a bit of nonsense in response, and it's kind of, I think that's how it goes. But I think there were a massive weight lifted off the players, and I think it's I don't think it was lack of effort in terms of prior to Hughes getting the sack. I think there was something, like I say, a hangover from last year or whatever it was. And so I just missed the start of your live space, Johnny. So did you say there are some like people in the running when some betting odds on them or something?
To be honest, you didn't miss out.
All right, okay.
But looking at the... give me 20 seconds. Here we go. So a guy called Thomas tweeted out 56 minutes ago the odds for the next manager. So Kevin McDonald is 11-10. Liam Richardson is 11-4. Neil Redford 7-2. Carl Robinson 12-1, and Craig Hignett is 12-1.
Right. Is it Liam Richardson? Where was he at now before?
He was Wigan.
Right. I mean, to be honest, for me, it's a difficult one because for me, and I always say this, I hold my hand up. When we sign this player or we linked with that player, especially in the lower leagues, I ain't got a clue. whether they're good or not, and people saying, "Oh, this would be a great sort of signing," but I genuinely don't have a clue, and I'm pretty much the same with other managers, other than kind of the obvious ones, and maybe the ones that you remember having played against them. I honestly don't know who I want in, who'd be good. What I would say is that I think somebody that needs to have a continuation with the squad that can basically play in a similar style to what's going on now, because we've got a squad of players that can play. Going back to when Collins was sacked and then they brought, hoofball with Hopkin, but they didn't have a squad for hoofball, so that was just a mishmash of a season. So for me, it's got to be somebody that would take the, run with the tools that we've got and make them work.
Yeah, someone tweeted out actually. Can't pronounce his name, but he's put Neil Lennon linked with the BCFC job. Would love him at Valley Parade. I can't stand him myself after what he did against us at Fibber ST in 2000. Cheek it, so and so.
Yeah, not remembering that.
Because I would love him who used to manage Southampton, Nathan Jones, but I know that's never going to happen. You never know, pigs might fly eventually. But just hoping, like AFC Wimbledon tomorrow, I hope we win, climb up that league. But I don't think Kevin McDonald actually wants the job permanently.
I prefer him as a player, or I think I'll rephrase that. I think he obviously wants to play, and I think unless he can find a formula of playing and coaching, so for example, say as Truman on the bench, basically looking at the game and kind of going in sort of lockstep with Big Kev. I think Kev is more of an influence on the field.
Yeah.
But if it works, then I don't care, because I like him. He's articulate, but he's got a big football brain as well. And when somebody speaks, you can tell whether they've got something about them or not. And like I say, not only is he articulate in general, but he has a kind of a football articulateness as well. Just listening to what he says, you kind of think this guy thinks about the game and thinks about it from having been involved at a higher level.
Because he's got a bit of an experience as well. I think he's done a bit. I know we've spoken quite a few times. He's had experience at Fulham, and he's done his badges at, I think, Fulham and somewhere else when he were really poorly.
Yeah, something like that, wasn't it? He took the under-18s for a little while, and I mean, because I suppose maybe one of the accusations or one of the points that maybe people would put at Hughes, amongst other things, is that, and my view was that he probably tried to play too much of a kind of championship upwards style of play that would have been all right with championship players against the way that the teams in the championship play, but ultimately it didn't work, for whatever reason, for many reasons or whatever. Nearly did though, didn't it? But I don't see that somebody who has high level experience can't do it at this level, because sort of teams have got out of this division by playing football. I think Orient were one of them. They were so much better than us after the first 20 minutes down there last year. It's probably down to like the squad you've got as well, but it's kind of so I don't, to be honest, like I say, I'll just kind of stop rambling, but overall I don't care who it is, as long as they carry on, take the baton and run with it with what we've got. The only person I don't want in is Steve Evans, for obvious reasons.
Yeah, there's rumours. I've heard stories about him. Apparently, he did something very inappropriate to a Bradford City staff member.
A female staff member, but also allegedly, I will say, there was somebody who was on work experience, and if he'd have been No, anyway,
Yeah.
like I said, this is alleged stuff, so I'm not going to go down that route.
I don't fancy
I
getting
don't
cancelled in a space of 2
But
days.
it's not cancellation. I don't fancy somebody's like. I don't fancy a lawsuit against my name, so we'll leave it as conjecture. Needless to say that he's kind of not the sort of person I think I would want in the club.
Is anybody else anything that's got to say, Callie? Have you figured out how to use it yet?
Yeah, I think I'm there now.
So,
you know what I'm like with technology, Johnny.
I know.
Come on.
I normally have to ring up and help you sort your IT problems out.
Oh. Do you know what? What I will say, under Hughes, we had a hell of a lot of draws under him. We didn't score many goals under Hughes because of, I don't know. We didn't. Cookie, yes, got put a few in, but not in each game. We only had maybe 1 or 2. We didn't have a lot of goals, did we?
No, you're right there. And ever since Hughes left, the team seems like they've been playing a bit better together.
Yeah, do you know who I'd like to give a shot at it? I'd like Carboni in me. I know it's a bit of a wild card, but I'd like to give him a shot.
Because he's not managed in, I think someone told me the other day, he's not managed in 6 years.
No, but he's passionate about the club. He loves the club. And to me, if you're in love with that club, you want to play with that passion and you want to manage with passion. Do you know what I mean? Like Bobby Poynton. Look at him. He should be playing every single game. He's a Bradford lad, born and bred, and when he puts that shirt on, he's playing for his team and the passion and the Yorkshire spirit. That's what we're short of in that team.
Yeah. It's what we're missing, like passion. It's like, I know you've not been to a couple of games, Callie, but like last week at the game, the team played as a unit in my eyes, and they played for each other like Gary Jones kind of things. They played.
Your Rory McArdles, your Gary Jones, who else? Steve McMahon. Do you know what I mean? Is it Steve McMahon? Tony McMahon, sorry. Them kind of players. That's what we need. But we need a manager that's going to pull the passion out of them kind of players.
So would you happy if we say McDonald wins tomorrow, gets us up to, I don't know, 10th position? Would you be happy for him to carry on?
Yeah, but I think he needs at least 6 games to kind of judge him first. At least 6, I would say, and see how he does then.
Because I don't want them to rush it like they always do, where they bring in a manager. This manager comes in, he says he's going to get us up into promotion, and then like 6 months later, he's in job centre.
Yeah. Well, look at Collins and Truman. They set off really well, didn't they, when they took over after... I can't remember when they took over. But they had a good run, but then that it just kind of fizzled out for them, didn't it?
Whatever happened to Stella? Where did he disappear after? Does anybody know?
I think, didn't he go to something like Hull's Academy or something like that? Yeah, you know about Sellers, yeah. I'm sure he was at or some championship club's academy or something like that. I think he turned us down. I mean, I'll just say, Callie, with regards to sort of passion, I think passion's okay, but it can be like you can be over passionate, and sometimes you need a level head. But also, the players you mentioned were also very good players.
Yeah.
So first and foremost, kind of like ability, what made them good. However, you know, sort of the minimum you'd expect from any professional is effort. So
to me, that's where McDonald comes in, because he's got the experience, and then then you've got your player like Bobby, and then that's like your happy medium, isn't it? You know, between the two.
And McDonald's got, I mean, he's got vision. He's got, like, I was watching the highlights from Tuesday. I missed the second goal because I was just doing a bit of work, and I came downstairs and watched it on iTunes, iFollow. And I think Bobby was involved in both goals, because, like, the first one, there was like a sort of 1-2 with Bobby and Kev. And then Kev put that ball in for Taylor to kind of square over to Kelly. Yeah. And then I think Bobby laid kind of did a similar thing with Paddy. So, I mean, the thing about Bobby, he's got passion, but the lad's got skills. You know what I mean? He's actually of a level that he's good enough as well.
He is, and then we've got the risk of, if we don't kind of get out of League Two this season, we've got the risk then with all these good players that are coming up will end up leaving, and that's normally the case with us, isn't it? If we don't get the promotion, and like we did when we got up to League One, can't remember. Yeah. We just missed out, didn't we, to Millwall, if you remember. And then we lost all them really good players, and we've just been in a demise ever since.
Yeah, I mean,
and now we're sat down, well, mid-table again, aren't we now? But
yeah, I mean, there are obviously like a lot of reasons going on there behind the scenes. So, in terms of that, but I take your point in terms of like you want to keep hold of Bobby, and if his advisors have got something about them, they'll keep him around City for 2 or 3 seasons,
which is what we need, absolutely.
Before he sort of moves on to a dream move, because that cliche is that kids.
That's what's going to happen. Yeah,
well,
you can tell because you can see the
with
potential now in him, can't you? You can see it.
Oh,
I mean, when I've seen him play, he runs rings round people, which is really good.
The lad's an absolute gem.
And he doesn't stop, does he? He doesn't stop the whole 90 minutes. He doesn't, like some of the other players. I know under Hughes probably more so. You can see them. They're not fighting for the balls. They're not running on the. You know what I mean? They're not just. That's where where I said the passion comes in. They're not like, oh my God, I need to really get to that ball. They just don't. Some of them don't seem to have that. Although it's changed since McDonald took over, I've seen the change in that.
Yeah, I mean, I'd take that point, but I'll disagree in the sense that because I don't think it's like passion and even effort. Because the one thing I would probably say that you couldn't level at, aside from the odd poor game, would that. So I'd respectfully disagree with you on that. But I do take your point of kind of like basically it's a minimum requirement that a player puts their effort in, and
yeah, of course it is.
But in some ways, it's kind of like also doing it at the right time in terms of like, sort of knowing when to go and when to sort of drop off and things like that. But I don't think effort. I think one thing that was apparent from last Saturday that wasn't there was I was never concerned at the end of the game, other than thought, well, referee's going to give Swindon a last-minute penalty like they keep doing down at Valley Parade. But because for some reason, and it's always a subconscious thing, I don't know why, but we always drop off deep when we got a goal ahead or whatever, and then we kind of
we don't carry on attacking, do we? We just sit back. We don't carry on attacking as such.
Yeah. And I can't believe any manager has told them to sit back when they've got a lead, but that must stem from something. But it's got to stem from something, and whether that's some kind of instructions that maybe the players take to heart or whatever, I don't know. But Saturday definitely was not that a case of that, and probably Tuesday as well, in terms of actually you going up and that old cliche, best form of defence is attack.
Why was Lewis dropped Tuesday? I've not seen why. Do we know why he was dropped?
Yeah, he basically last year he played every game, and then he got to a point where I think his form dipped because he played so many games and he couldn't maintain that level. Whereas this year it's like, well, we've got these games. You don't need to be like flogging Lewis every single game for this minor cup competition, as in the same way that he's brought Taylor in and Kieran back in, and the young lad Freddie. Was it Freddie Sears or something? I can't remember.
He was good though when he came on.
He skills. He looked lively.
It was fantastic to watch. I think he even tried some step overs. And we're like, "What are you doing? Well, let's go for it. Keep going."
Do you know that's the thing? When we've produced players in the past, I don't think. I mean, I'm going off of two 10 minutes of this kid, but from what we've seen of Bobby and this kid, we seem to have a almost like a little generation that the players that are coming in are actually decent footballers, and you can see why, sort of like the guy who passed away who was the academy coach. He's obviously done a very good job, but there's actual natural ability there, and we've done well to keep hold of these kids. If that kid is going to reproduce that enough to kind of get into the first team like Bobby has, then it's actually a pleasant surprise to see somebody of that age for Bradford City in League Two with those kind of skills.
And it's nice when they become fans' favourites as well.
Yeah,
like Cookie, Bobby Poynton. Obviously, I think Bobby Poynton's taking over a bit from Cookie as well now. I think he's kind of edging past him a little bit. From what I've seen when I've been studying COP and stuff. But yeah, it's nice when they become the fans' favourites, and that gives them a bit more oomph behind them. Do you know what I mean? When the fans get behind certain players.
Yeah.
But obviously we should get behind the whole team. But you see some players that aren't performing right well, and that's where that toxicity comes in, and that's horrible. And that was starting to creep in again, wasn't it, before Hughes went?
Yeah, I mean that started from the first game at Crawley, but I've maintained this season, and I'm saying it with like not 100, like this is the God's truth or the gospel or whatever. But my observation and my opinion was that it was a massive hangover from Carlisle, almost like coupled with seemingly underwhelming signings perhaps over the summer. But I think people didn't forgive the team or Hughes for that last game, and sort of, and that did spill over because I'd seen like Bradford City fans, grown men, basically almost starting fights with each other in the away.
Oh yeah, I've seen it.
It's like, have a word with yourself. There's just.
I have had words when I've seen people. I mean, Johnny will know. Johnny knows what I'm like. But I've seen it happen.
This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.
And I'll turn around and say, "Whoa! If you don't support your team, piss off out." Do you know what I mean? Don't sit there watching them if you're going to be like that. But that's me. My mouth gets me into trouble quite a few times. But anyway, that's a different story.
I mean, everyone's entitled to kind of support the team how they want, but you kind of have to sort of take a look at yourself and you think, well, I'm getting into a fight with somebody over a game of football, as in like they're not part of a, like ointment or whatever it is, whatever it was, but just like normal everyday people that are just going to a game and kind of but anyway, that's another side. But I think the team and Kev have kind of like lifted that cloud anyway.
Yeah.
So,
and it does seem very positive. But the fans do seem more positive now on the upside of that. I do remember being at Carlisle when we lost, and I remember all the Carlisle fans just overcrowded the whole pitch. And I can't remember who it was. Was it Smallwood and another player? I managed to get in front of the Carlisle fans and obviously in between us fans, and they were just stood there looking just all solemn and upset. But and it was just like, well, they didn't even try in it. Well, my opinion is they didn't even try in that game. It was just a horrible game to watch, and they were stood there just with their heads in their hands and looking at our fans. And I think a lot of our fans didn't even know what to do. We were just all stood there, just like stunned.
Yeah, I mean, I'll disagree with the lack of trying. I think a lot of players had uncharacteristically poor games that day, and
that's what I mean. It wasn't a good game to watch.
No, it wasn't. But, I mean, it doesn't have to be a good game to watch as long as you win. I think whether it was pressure or whatever it was. Whatever it was on the day, it was one of those it wasn't meant to be, and I do think that the players were genuinely shell shocked.
Yeah,
and then kind of having these idiots rushing onto the pitch and being in your face probably doesn't help either. But I I would definitely argue with anyone that says it was through lack of effort. I think it was just it wasn't meant to be, and decisions that were made on and off the field in terms of, like, everyone will go back to that Scott Banks substitution, which is a fair comment. But I think, I think that just basically carried over into the start of the season, and I'm sure Hughes was absolutely deflated after that as well, because
the expectation was too high for him.
I don't think it's too high. I think, he's played for Man United, he's played for Wales, he's played for Barcelona, Bayern Munich.
But playing and managing they're completely different things, aren't they? You can be a really good player, like McDonald. Is he good enough to be a player manager? Do we agree with player
It's
managers?
like with McCall. I think he made I think I saw him once back in like 2000 when Bradford played Arsenal. I think he makes as a good, like, a second assistant, like assistant manager, but as a manager, no.
Again, I'm just sounding like contrarian, but I'll disagree with that, because you go back to the football we played in that second spell, the first season, and that was probably some of the best football I've seen for a long, long time. And if you remember the Bolton game when Parky came, and to be fair, that's a typical Parky team. They came back from 2-0 down. But the first half of that game was, and I use the words, that was scintillating. That was just the most fantastic
Something you
football
don't hear very often at Bradford.
Maybe not, but some of the football we played, and if you think of that game at Wembley.
Hi, I'm Danny Pellegrino from the Everything Iconic podcast. And who doesn't love a classic burger from McDonald's? That's right. McDonald's classic burgers are hotter, juicier, and tastier than ever. The patties are cooked to juicy perfection. I love the cheese perfectly melted on top. I love the Big Mac that has special sauce in every bite. I love the pillowy, soft, golden bun. So in the words of the Hamburglar, which I believe means grab McDonald's best burgers ever before Hamburglar does at a McDonald's near you.
We dominated the first half.
Yeah.
We go through and, what's his name? He was my favourite player, one of my favourite players as well, Billy Clark. That's goal bound, but for me, their keepers made a worldie, and then they get a borderline offside goal with 5 minutes to go. And so I think in games like that, it's fine margins, but I would argue that is some of the best football I've seen following Bradford City for a very long time. And knowing what happened off the field with Eddie and stuff like that, to play that well and to get that far.
Yeah.
With everything that was kind of going on around him with the pressure of Raj, I think I would argue against anyone to say that wasn't. I mean, obviously it was a failure because we didn't go up, but that to say that McCall wasn't a good manager. I think the following season, obviously, the players that we got weren't as good as the previous season, and we were still in the playoffs when he got sacked.
There was a lot going on behind the scenes, I think, at that point, weren't they, as well, that we didn't really get to know about with the Germans. Because didn't a lot of the players all leave together? They all kind of followed suit, didn't they? Went one after each other, all the good ones.
Well, if you think of, remember when after McCall was sacked, and then a handful of players basically were in some restaurant with him and they took a photo.
That's right. They were all out together, weren't they? All drinking.
Yes,
and
if you notice, those players left the club,
Yeah.
and I think that's probably down to the ego of Rahich.
Wasn't there a photograph taken of them
Yeah.
all? And every one of them on that picture all went, didn't they?
Yeah. And I don't think they chose to go. I think it was kind of engineered. But so anyway, I'm rambling on a bit. I'm sure there's somebody else who's got something more interesting than me to say. So
if anyone else has got out to say, put a request in, and we'll get you on.
There goes the tumbleweed.
Hold on, I've got some sound effects here, I think. So if anyone wants, that's a funny one. Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts, Labby? Because you usually kind of contributed on the city event.
If anyone wants to put a request in, well, we've got this awkward silence. Just remind you all, it's going to be going to go on as a podcast. Oh, he's requested. Good lad. Here we go.
Evening.
Evening.
You're right.
You all right, fella?
Evening, Labby. Evening,
How you
Labby.
doing? You're right.
I'm good, thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, just to pick up on where we left it off, really. I tend to agree with with a lot of stuff that's been said. Just going back to the point that Stan was making when I joined, I'm the same. I apart from the players we've got at our club and apart from the manager we've got at our club, I won't have a clue of who else is out there and who's a good player and who's not a good player and who would be the manager that we get coming in. Obviously, I've heard of a few names that have been kind of dotted around, and we know of clubs that have had managers and people like Richie Wellens gets mentioned, doesn't he, every time. So there's a couple of managers who are well known in our leagues, but anyone else, I wouldn't really have a clue. I'm guessing I'm probably one of the older ones here. So I remember back in the day, we had Roy McFarland, who arrived as a player manager, and he did exceptionally well. That was followed by Trevor Cherry, who was another player manager. Now, granted, these were both kind of ex-England internationals who had played football at a very high level, but they came in, played and managed, and did exceptionally well. Both of them got us promoted. Trevor Cherry won us the third division championship. We've had a couple of caretaker player managers since then, and it's not kind of worked so well. But if I remember correctly, Paul Jewell was in a kind of coaching capacity at the club when he was appointed manager. Chris Kamara was a kind of player coach. Lenny Lawrence got sacked, and Chris Kamara got the job. And I've said it before, the most success we've had has been with first-time novice managers, people who have never managed before, people who have come in towards the end of their playing career and who have come in and done an exceptionally good job. The only exception is Phil Parkinson, who's somebody who's come in as an experienced manager and brought us a bit of success. All the other names I've mentioned are all complete novices, but have delivered success on the plate for us. So I'm not suggesting for 1 minute, we go for Kevin McDonald, but he's not doing himself any harm, is he? The way he's kind of carrying on. No. He talks a good game. I didn't go to the Grimsby game, but certainly absolute world of difference the way we played against Swindon. And certainly all the match reports is the style of play so much different as it was under Hughes. And it now comes to a Friday night and we've got a game on Saturday, and for a change, I'm actually kind of looking forward to it. Whereas previously, to be blunt, the football we played under Hughes was just dull. We got lucky last year where we managed to win a lot of games, not through outplaying the opposition, but through a couple of bursts of 5-10 minutes of good football, and Andy Cook
and a
lot of luck and kind of nicking a goal here and there. And obviously Andy Cook with his 31 goals, without him would have been absolutely scuppered. So I don't think there were many games where we actually dominated the other side and we came out clear winners. Sometimes I think
we had a lot of draws as well.
A lot of
didn't we? We had
draws,
quite a lot of draws.
And games on paper we should have won considering our league position. But going back to what I was saying, I think it's now hopefully a fresh start for the club under that kind of dismal type of football that we were playing for the last year and a half. And as I said before, a lot of times it was just boring to watch. So no idea in terms of nominations for managers. Absolutely not got a clue. I don't know who's out of work and who would want to come to us, but as other people have said, I just hope they can kind of continue with the style of football that we seem to have discovered. Get on the front foot, play attacking football, play with a bit of pace, a bit of aggression. And I think that's just what all we want to see. The stuff that gets you out of your seat, the stuff that you look forward to watching, on a weekend. There's something that gets you excited. That's all I think we'd ask for, really.
Yeah. Sorry, interrupting, mate. I just wanted to know. So what sort of manager would you want in? Like, because I'm sort of split on the decision. Like, we've sort of had like every sort of manager at this point. We've had McCall, who's a club legend. We've had the experience of Adams, who's got up from League Two. We've tried it with Truman and Collins, and it just didn't see it work. So I was wondering why. I'm sort of in the middle of it. I don't really know what to think about it. What do you think?
I've already said I'd love Carbonian just as a bit of a wild card, just to see what he would do.
I think that could go really well or really bad. I don't see
it. That's why it's a wild card.
Yeah, that'd be either really good or really bad. I can't see it going either way.
The other one for me would be somebody like Billy Clark, who's been mentioned earlier. I know he's done all his coaching badges and stuff now. I mean, I'm in touch with his dad, Charlie. I've met Charlie a few times at the games. And Billy's he loves Bradford. He loves Bradford. And I always think, I'm probably a bit of a fantasy kind of football fan. And it'd be nice to have somebody that is Bradford through and through, like McCall was. And I think somebody like that can do a good job for us.
Yeah, I agree. I think, obviously, like you said, it just depends. I don't know. I think
it's hard, isn't it? It's hard for us to all
want someone who cares for the club, but at the same time, like, I think Murray talks a lot of sense when he's on the radio. I think he's bang on, but he don't have his coaching badges to like actually take us over. So it's like,
yeah.
I mean, I think there were a lot of rumours that the crew manager Lee Bell that were going to take us over, and that's sort of shied off. So, I mean, I don't think you can really recruit a specific manager at this point, to be honest. I think it's just...
And that's the trouble with all the rumours that get banged about, isn't it? It spoils it a little bit for me when somebody keeps saying, "Oh, this is happening," or "This is going to happen." But it is just rumours. When do we think that the manager will be? I forgot what's the word I'm looking for. Yeah, announced. When do we think that's going to happen?
I reckon probably with club it's normally a Monday or a Tuesday.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think it'll be during week. I'd definitely give McDonald's this weekend and possibly beyond. Just spend now we keep going, but
another couple of games maybe, and then see what is.
What's happened. The point I'd make there is, dependent on how it goes tomorrow, I don't think there's any rush.
Yeah,
McDonald's doing well. Wimbledon, I was just looking at the table the other day. I think Wimbledon are about fourth, are they? Something like that. So, we're playing...
That's quite a good test tomorrow, then, isn't it?
So, I mean, we're playing one of the better sides in the division. Early days, I know that. We're like 12 games in or something like that. So it's early days, but they are up there. So they've started off well. So I think if we go there and get some form of result, it shows that, we do have a good squad, which I think a lot of us have always said. The quality of the players is good enough. And we also talk about making the right decision this time round. So I think the club should take its time, make sure we get it right. Don't rush into an appointment. Take the time looking for the right person. McDonald seems to know what he's doing. He seems to know what he wants. So let him carry on for the time being. Take your time. Make the right decision at the right time.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think 2 wins out of 2. I know obviously one of them's in Papa John's Trophy, which doesn't mean much, but at the end of the day, that just one game, it showed how free they can actually play.
And he still went for win, even though it was a crappy trophy game as well, didn't he?
Yeah, even let off today, be like, I've normally seen him come on, and he just doesn't do all. But he seemed a bit more free the other day. I don't know. I feel like they can just sort of play how they want to, sort of thing.
Every player seemed, to me personally, every player seemed to play differently, and that's crazy to
Yeah.
think of that.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think, and I like, it's like Gilliard's interview the other day. He's sort of like, he can't slate his old manager, but the way he said, he sort of retracted his statement. He went, well, before we were playing possession, and then he sort of stopped halfway through, and it was like, you know, he's sort of been restricted, sort of thing.
Who agrees? Who agrees with the formation of having two strikers up front? Because Hughes always used to just play one, didn't he? Very rarely put two
I
up.
love two up front.
Who agrees with
Because
that?
if we've got so we say when all our strikers are fit, we'll have Andy Cook and possibly is it Oliver up front and two, is it big man, short man, or the two big men, should we say?
Yeah, I don't think you could play Oliver and Cook at the same time. I don't think that's.
The point I'd make, the point I'd make on that one is, if you remember when Stewart got sacked of his third spell, Stewart was playing three at the back, wasn't he? Ben Richard Davison obviously had a really tough time with it. So when he went and we had Truman and Sellers, the first thing they did was revert to four at the back, and they played at what was at the time a new formation for us, which was that 4-2-3-1. And from what I've seen, that seems to be a really common, popular setup in these lower divisions. 4-2-3-1. Virtually every team plays that these days. So I'm not convinced that two up front is the answer. Obviously, I've not seen us kind of successfully play like that for a while. Yeah. But I think 4-2-3-1 works with the squad that we've got. Andy Cook seems to work better, I think, as a lone striker. If you look at the few games he played with a striking partner, he didn't score. Right, it took him several games to notch. Obviously, he was injured for a bit and came back. But I think Cook plays better on his own up front.
Yeah, I thought with the five at the back that Hughes tried doing, you have to play a ball-playing sort of centre-back like Critchlow, who has pace and who can actually come out with the ball and sort of come towards teams. I think when he was trying to play five at the back with Platt, Taylor, and Kelly, or it just doesn't work because it's three tall, slow centre backs, and that will never work. So I think, obviously the four at the back's always going to suit us, like you said, and you sort of need to play Cook's abilities because, he got us into the playoffs last year. Him and Lewis got us into the playoffs. That's just a fact.
I think just going back to an earlier point that was made with regards to the players, the point I made about the fans don't seem to have not forgiven Hughes or the team for the Carlisle game. I wonder if the players felt like that towards Hughes, whether they felt...
It'd be nice to find that out, wouldn't it?
Well, whether they felt they had a chance, because they did. I mean, I wasn't the only one, but going down to Swindon and taking a day and a half off work and sort of getting beat sort of late on down there. When that game though, if we'd have scored in the first half, they'd have crumbled because they were fans on the way in were saying they were going to get battered 5-6-0. But
are you feeling Tranmere again?
No, the Swindon last year. Sorry.
Oh, so last year, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. So,
yeah.
so kind of, and things like that. But, that's where a couple of games that we'd lost that we needed to win to have been with a chance.
Yeah.
I wonder whether the hangover from the players was maybe the players, they all talk to each other, don't they? Or there's a collective, whether they felt that maybe they were let down. I don't know. Or maybe just the fact that it was such a disappointment that whoever was in was going to be a hangover. I don't know, but I'd love to know the facts.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I completely agree. I think I don't completely blame Hughes for what has happened. I think the club is sort of it's rotten from the core. Like, he's been promised things that he can't get. Sort of like Adams had said. I know, obviously, we're not a big fan of Adams, but sort of every recent manager has said there's something wrong with the top of the club, and that is quite clearly he goes back to Rupp. So, I mean, whatever manager we're getting now, we have to invest.
I think on that though, Luke. Sorry, I think Adam has been saying that at Morecambe, so I think he uses that as a kind of
So could it be
as a kind of bargaining tool. But what I would say about Hughes, and he did take us forward, and I think whether you like people like the style of football, we had a team that actually lost in a semi-final of a playoff, and you know the previous seasons. Under Bowyer, and then the actual level of squad was poor in comparison. And obviously, Gent's done the sort of sourcing of players, and Hughes and probably Sparks have kind of signed it off. But we are in a better position because overall we have better players than we've had for the last 3, 4, 5 seasons.
Because
I think that's something that needs to be said, that Hughes, as much as obviously the goal was to get back up to League One, he has developed a lot, actually. He's taken us to a team that can actually challenge for the playoffs, and obviously Carlisle, at the end of the day, still a better team and the beaters. But, like the past few seasons we were in League Two, we weren't even looking like we were even near playoffs. So,
yeah,
I mean you have to give him credit for that.
I'll accept people have a difference of opinion on the football style, and that's fine because, in that sense, that's just horses for courses. But to say you could say objectively because of the league table position that we finished in, is that we are a better under the last year and a half under Hughes, because obviously he. Having half of Adam's squad for 13 games or whatever it was, and then assess the sort of type of play that he wanted. But like I say, everyone's kind of entitled to view like or dislike a particular style of play.
It's like if you look at the players who've left the club, so we've got Adam Clayton, Songo, Ilsa, Scales, Folds. East and Young have joined on loan. So is Hendry and Timmy Osidene. And then you've got Finkers and Dawson as on loan. Then we've got Felkrell, Wood, who have all left the club. So, like, better players have come in. But it's like saying after the Carlisle loss, the team, I don't think, recovered from that. And same with Hughes, he didn't recover. He were, probably shocking morning. And then soon as, if he's had fallouts with Smallwood and stuff, Jake Young, you lose a dressing room, players don't play for you, it goes down the panel.
It does seem like he sort of fell out with Smallwood. I don't know. He's I've never been a massive fan of Smallwood, but the way that he just suddenly dropped him was sort of quite shocking to me, to be fair. Like, the way that he just, obviously he's thrown Kevin McDonald straight back in, and then McDonald's come back in as manager, put Smallwood in middle, and Smallwood's been class the last 2 games. He's been amazing.
And Smallwood had his best game I've ever seen him play last Saturday.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's been amazing.
It was also telling, wasn't it, in a few games prior to Hughes going, that Smallwood put in Oyegoki in the centre, somebody else in the centre rather than Smallwood. Now, I thought, and obviously after the last 2 games, thought wrongly that Smallwood's legs had gone. It happens, but it's something that, whatever it is, and obviously the players aren't going to kiss and tell, but something's gone on, hasn't it, between Smallwood and Hughes?
Yeah, I thought the decision to put Oyegoki in midfield was ridiculous, because when I think McDonald put one of the stuff on the weekend, and he was really, down the wing. I thought he took players on, and he played really well. So I don't get why ever Hughes would decide I'm going to try and play him as a centre mid. I think that's ridiculous.
Especially if we had Ryan East out on loan.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm a massive fan of Ryan East. I'd love to see Ryan in there with Kev or sort of anyone else in centre of midfield.
Yeah. All Rochdale fans are like singing his praises. They're saying he's amazing.
Well, Bradford City fans were singing his praises whenever he played.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't get that. That for me was like, I would say my biggest criticism of Hughes was, and it's not a case of like, you have favourite players. I don't care as long as the team do well if they're not playing and somebody else plays. But there's obviously a player there, and it's not like you haven't he's a rough diamond or anything. I think he was good enough in the team to have an effect on games.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think I really don't understand how he didn't get in the team. I think Hughes had set up to sort of put the team out this season to not lose. Like, it wasn't a case of just go for it, which should be like the setup for any League Two team. It was, right, if we sit back and we play possession-based football that worked in the Premier League, maybe for a bit for him, but it don't work in League Two. It just doesn't. It's a completely different game.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I just think, I don't know, I think Hughes is sort of, he's not bad, I wouldn't say he's a bad manager, I'd just say he's out of his depth in League Two. Going from Premier League, I think his last job before us was Southampton in the Premier League, back down to League Two. You can't compare the two, it's such a different game. So, as much as, like, obviously when we got Hughes, everyone was, and no one complained about it, but it's not the same game. You need someone who knows the league if you want to get us out of this league.
Just to say, guys, this is the final 10-minute klaxon.
Oh, bloody hell.
So that's the final 10-minute klaxon left, guys.
Oh, don't know me making that loud.
That's basic. It's off Twitter, this.
Got my earphones in.
I know, I'm punishing you for leaving me in crapper when you left.
I've joined that.
You joined, I'll let you off. Oh, we've got another request.
Yeah.
All right, up. Gally again.
Yeah, I think my final comment is that we're going to win the league.
What have you been drinking, Luke? Have you been on them Jaeger bombs? Have you been on Jaegers?
Do you know what? I'm stood outside the Wetherspoons in Bradford, so I might have to go in and just say that we're going to win the league. Might have to run in.
What do we think the score's going to be tomorrow? Let's have some score predictions.
1-0 City.
I'm going to make a point of not making a prediction. I'm not superstitious, but I hate making score predictions where City are concerned because I always get them wrong. Not in a good way as well. So I'm going to sit on the fence and sit on my hands on this one.
Gallet?
I think we're going to. I'm going to put it out there. I'll probably be wrong, but I don't care. I think we're going to win, and I think we're going to have a big win tomorrow. I think we're due one. So I think it's going to be about 3-0.
What about you, Luke? What do you think score's going to be tomorrow?
I'm thinking 3-1. 3-1 City.
3-1 City. Right. I think that's gone very well since I started at 7, but give everybody a minute. Just say thank you for everybody for listening. Just to remind you, it's on all podcast services. It'll soon be on YouTube and wherever you are in the world. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Thanks for listening. Ta-ra.
This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.